I've been doing social media for a little bit now, and this is probably the most frequently asked question. So let me return it back to you. Do you believe that you deserve to have confidence? Like genuinely, honestly. Let's take a second here. Do you believe that you're doing everything that you need to be doing in order to have confidence? Or are you just sitting there with your hands behind your back, just waiting for confidence to appear in your lap? You see, confidence is having an undeniable stack of proof that you are exactly who you say that you are. It's about outworking yourself down. You see, we use this metaphor a lot on my pages, but when it comes to athletes, right, they are so confident on the pitch, on the court, on the field. Why? Why? Is it just because they magically got this confidence when a million eyes are watching them? No, they're so confident on match day because they know that they've shown up for themselves every single day prior to game day. And they know that they've done everything they can possibly do to be the most prepared, to be having the best performance they can possibly have. You see, that's how we got to treat a lot of our lives, right? So many times we just think that it's going to magically appear for us, but it won't. Are you taking the time to develop your character? Are you taking the time to develop a skill? Are you? Like, genuinely, like, are you? Like, think honestly about your life. Have you been doing that? And to be honest, I probably don't blame you so much. A lot of our lives, especially in our society, teaches us to not think. Teaches us to just follow the regimen. You know, I think school probably plays a big role in this. And this is coming from a person that's getting his bachelor's and master's in biomedical engineering. So I'm not against school by any means. We'll talk about that later in this video. But you have to spend your time that isn't allocated towards school, especially for the younger ones watching, to develop yourself. Or maybe actually use school to develop yourself, right? Keep your promises. Keep them. Stay committed to your promises long after the emotions in which you originally set them in subside, because they will. We've all experienced this, right? And no man is free if they cannot control themselves. And so you got to stay disciplined. Now, how do you do that, right? And I think this is the part that bothers me a lot, because we see so many people on social media say, have discipline, have it, and then you'll be good. And now that holds a lot of weight because it's a big part of that is true. But how do you build it? It's not easy. It's not easy. I bet all of us that have tried have failed, right? Even if you've succeeded eventually, you probably originally failed. Now imagine how many people out there are so down on themselves because they know that they should be building discipline, but they don't know how to. No one's ever taught them. So I'm going to teach you. We'll break it down. We'll break this down. All right. So I think number one, have an overarching goal of why you want to have that discipline in the first place, right? So we need an example for today's purposes. So let's say that you found your significant other and she's perfect. She's everything that you've been looking for. And you want to do everything that you can possibly do to not sabotage that relationship. Now, that's a pretty admirable goal, if I say so myself. So that's number one. Number two, continue to break down that goal until you get a practical, actionable step that you will actually do. Now, that was a lot, but what do I mean? Now, let's say that one part of you not sabotaging this relationship is that you want to be having an organized life yourself, right? Like you find yourself so disorderly. Like everything about your life is disorderly. And you know that that's a place that you need to start at in order to get to the ultimate goal of not self-sabotaging your relationship. So let's break that down even further. Do you make your bed in the morning? Do you? I know so many of you guys are probably watching this saying, oh, that's so silly. That's such an easy thing to do. Is it? Even if it's easy in the sense of you don't necessarily need the most amount of effort to get it done. You don't need the most amount of time to get it done. Is it trivial by any means? No. Because I bet more than half of us watching this don't make our beds in the morning. We wait on mom and dad to make our beds, right? Or it's not made at all. That's a problem. Okay, take some responsibility here. So let's start there. That will be the most broken down micro goal that we're going to aim to accomplish. Okay, and then number 3, set a timetable for yourself. Let's say for the next 7 days, you're going to make your bed. Do it, okay? You're gonna, of course, the number one thing to note to yourself is actually make your bed, successfully accomplish the task at hand. And I guarantee, even if you start with making your bed, a lot of us will fail with this. A lot of us, after a week will pass, will say, we were late to work one day, we were just rushing out of bed and we forgot to do it. You can't even make your bed. You're talking about having a successful, fulfilling relationship, and you can't even keep yourself in check. Like, we have to break it down to the point that we have humility to say, wow, we are so useless to the point that we can't even do this. And so if you can't achieve that, your responsibility would be to look in that mirror, the accountability mirror, and be like, all right, how do I go further than that? Like, how do I peel back another layer? But let's say for this example, you successfully did it. You successfully made your bed for the 7 days. Now, you might be asking yourself, oh, do I really have to start at such a small task and small goal? It seems, again, so trivial. Again, I explained that it's not trivial, but another thing that you have to remember is that this self-healing journey, this self-discovery journey, this working on yourself journey is certainly not linear. I think that's something that people forget a lot of times. I think if we flip it, that it'll make a lot of sense for us. Like, how many times do we make a bad decision and then it leads to 2 bad decisions? Then leads to 4 bad decisions, maybe 16 bad decisions. You see, like, that happens to us all the time. So it's like, we'll make a bad decision, we'll make a bad decision, we'll make a bad decision, and then go, crash, burn. But it's the same idea in terms of progress. Like, if you make your bed, sure, that might be like a slight little increase for yourself. For those math people, the slope might not be that great. But I guarantee, if you can incrementally build on that, so the week following, you add another task for yourself that's not substantially more complex than what you started off with in terms of making your bed, but just small progresses. It starts to build up. It starts to build up. And then it becomes this exponential curve. And then you'll find yourself at a place that you might not even recognize who you are. Right? Like, that's how much you would have progressed. And it will all start with something as small as making your bed. The people around you matter. They do. And I know we've all heard that before, and probably most of us are still not willing to admit it, because I wasn't willing to admit it. I'll give you a good example of how people's energies can impact your life. So when I was about 1 year into this self-healing, self-discovery journey of mine, I felt really good about where I was. Like, really good. I felt really confident, and I had allowed someone to come into my life. And once I started recognizing some of those red flags, I didn't have the courage to set those boundaries and to remove myself from that situation. And so that person, if you're anything like me, you invest a lot in the people close to you, right? So you'll spend a lot of time with them. They ruined everything that I built up in that year prior. Everything. I reverted back to all my old habits, and I started to follow a lot of the things that they were doing, not just the actions themselves, but the thought processes. Like, I was complaining a lot more. I was gossiping a lot more. And subconsciously, too. It wasn't like I knew what I was doing. It just happened. This happens because so many times we underestimate the power in which people's energies can have on you. But it works the other way too. And so if you can find mentors, or if you can find people that are good role models for you, it'll do the same thing. Their energies will just radiate onto you, and you would just naturally, subconsciously follow a lot of the things that made them successful. So find good people. Now, this brings me to a whole other thing, though. I bet you're asking, like, how do I build a good community? I feel like that's many of our goals. Like, how do you build a good community? And again, this is something that no one really talks about, but let me try and break this down as well. I think there are 4 steps. First, you recognize that you're in a situation in which there's too much negativity. You realize that the people around you, like your current friend group, none of them support you. You realize that they make fun of you a lot, that they make jokes at your expense a lot. You realize that they don't encourage you. You realize that their goals aren't big enough for you. That's number 1, that you have this mental space that you want to protect, like it's your child. I know that might be exaggerating a little bit, but treat it like it's your most innocent friend. You want to do everything that you can do to possibly protect it. That's how you protect your mental space. So number 1 is recognizing the negative situation that you're in, that it's not good for your mental space. Number 2, remove yourself from that negativity. And this doesn't mean that you got to be rude about it. This isn't to say that you're better than anyone. It's just that they have a value system and you have your own. And they're going to go to places in which that value system will carry out to, and you will do the same. But you realize because their goals aren't aligned with yours, you need to step away. You need to remove yourself from the negativity. Again, you don't have to be rude about it. If they say, hey, like, we got a party Friday, you want to come out, just be like, hey, I'm working on X, Y, and Z, and I just need some time to do it, but I hope you guys have a great time. That's all. When you see them in public, you don't have to just completely ignore them and shun them out of your life. You can say hi, but you don't have to necessarily associate all your free time with them. And this is another part, right? Like, people underestimate what going out like one of those nights does to you on the weekend. Like, the weekends is meant to finally have the time necessary to develop everything that you want to develop. If you're using that time to party and all that, like, think about it. Like, after a party on Friday night, you're probably not feeling all that great Saturday. You're probably sleeping in Saturday, right? And then it puts you behind all your goals for Saturday and Sunday. And so say that's not your vibe. I'm not like saying that if that is your vibe, there's anything wrong with you. I'm talking to those individuals that want to be doing something a little bit different in their lives. So then number 2, it's removing yourself from that negativity. Number 3, this is a part that you might not like so much. You have to spend time alone. You gotta be a lone wolf. You just do. Because once you remove yourself from the negativity, you're gonna recognize that you have so much of this free space. And that free space, in terms of time and energy, right? That's what space consists of. You use it to finally tackle some of the goals that you had in life. Like, whether it's you want to start social media, whether it's you want to pick up an instrument, whether it's you want to develop your skills in a sport, whatever it is, you get time to do that. Whether it's you trying to make money and start a business, like whatever that is, you have the time to do that, right? So initially, it's gonna be lonely, right? Like, it's okay if you guys are on step 3 right now. It's lonely. Like, originally, it's lonely, but once you start filling those empty spots that you would used to hang out with friends with, to actually develop your own skills, it becomes a lot less lonely. Number 4, this is the part that's the coolest. You become the magnet in which like-minded individuals come together and grow together. You get that? You become the magnet in which you attract like-minded individuals together and to grow together. You see, so many times we spend energy seeking the right groups of people. And there's definitely a time and place for that, don't get me wrong. But what we don't do is take those prior steps that I just recognized, because if you don't take those prior steps, right, when you do find high value individuals that you want to keep as a community, you might not be able to keep them around for long. You might not be able to contribute to the group, you know? Like if you find some really successful people and you're able to put on a mask originally and be like, oh, I got my life together. Oh, I can contribute to this group. Oh, I'm a high value individual myself. You get 6 months down the road, your true colors are going to start to show. And that group might not be willing to stick around for you. And they don't need to. That's not their job to bring you up entirely from scratch. It's your job to have gone through that healing journey by taking on those previous 3 steps, so that when a community is attracted to you, because you're the magnet in which like-minded people come, you're ready for it. I think that is how you build a good community that encourages you, that supports your goals, that tells you that hey, you look good today and you actually believe it. That's how you attain confidence. You got a good crew around you of high value individuals. You know that okay, people's energies, they can have such impact on you, but I'm chilling. Like I'm good because I know the people I surround myself with subconsciously don't make me better. Change the content that you consume. Change it. Start there. So many times we think that a healthy diet is only about the foods that we consume for our stomach, but I'm telling you it's not. A healthy diet is all about the thoughts that you feed to your mind and your soul. But that source comes from all places in our lives. But let me start with the content that you consume first, right? Like social media is a part of our lives, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a negative one. Are there creators out there that make you feel lethargic and feel bad about yourself and feel really insecure after you consume their content? Absolutely. Those are the ones to stay away from. Those are the ones I hope you unfollow right after this video. Actually, go ahead right now, do it. I do believe that there are creators out there that inspire you. I believe that there are creators out there that teach you. I believe that social media and the internet is a great source to learn. It's a great place to build some of those communities that you're looking for. But if you are constantly consuming reality TV shows in your free time, and then you're wondering why you're not confident, does that make sense? Like, does it? Genuinely? No, it doesn't make sense. Because you're not using any of those contents to actually improve yourself, right? And so if you're gonna be spending time on social media and you don't necessarily want to completely cut it out of your life, I also think that's viable if you're not capable of distinguishing the two. Then follow creators that actually are good for you. So revamp your feed. So many of you guys are following like even 3,000 people. How many of those 3,000 people are actually bettering your life? And how much of those 3,000 people are you actually able to consume their content? That's too many people, right? Maybe there's like 150 people from school. You got like your family and friends. And then the rest should be just creators that inspire you to do what you want to be doing. So if you want to be doing social media, follow creators that teach you how to do social media. Follow David Goggins. I follow him that inspires you to outwork your own limitations, right? So change the content that you consume. If you change the content that you consume, you have the self-confidence that grows from within. But it's not necessarily just media, right? It's also about the people around you, right? Like if you're going to Joe and you say, Joe, I just achieved X goal. Let's say that you got a really good grade on your exam. But let's say Joe's in that class and Joe did not do so well on that exam. Is Joe going to you and saying, oh, like, of course, it's because you're try hard? Is Joe doing that? Then forget Joe. Ignore Joe. Remove Joe. Because so many times the encouragement that we get from our friends are so fake, and you know that. You don't need that. You need people in your life that even if they did poorly on it, they're like, wow, like that's so incredible. I know that you work really hard because it matters to you. If you're Joe, you should be trying to learn from your friend and be like, hey, June, like, can you teach me how to study for our next trig exam? Like, that's the type of friends that you need. So the content is definitely social media, like definitely media in general, because it's become so ingrained in our lives. Change the content that you consume, but also, again, change the content in terms of the thoughts that are being presented to you by the people closest to you. Your physical appearance is really important. And before any of you guys say, oh, June, that's so surface level, none of that stuff really matters, let me try and explain myself, okay? Just give me a minute. But before I talk about the why, let's talk about what. Like, what do I mean by a healthy physical appearance? Are you training enough? Are you watching what you put in your body in terms of food and drink? Do you have a proper grooming routine? Do you have a skincare routine? Do you have a hair care routine? Are you wearing cologne and deodorant on a regular basis? Do you shower regularly? Like, really, like, rewind what I just said and answer yes or no. And this is for my guys too, right? Like, this isn't just like a skincare routine, and if you have longer hair, your hair care routine, and wearing cologne and deodorant. That really is so important. It's so important for you as well. And the earlier you start, the better, right? And so ask yourself yes or no, and then let's talk a little bit about why this is important, because this is our first impression. It just is, right? And so when someone looks at you, and when you first introduce yourself to them, they subconsciously think about your physical appearance, right? And they think, oh, they don't look like they do any of those things that I just first mentioned. They're like, oh, maybe this person doesn't respect themselves, right? And so why would I need to respect them? And yes, do I believe your personality and the energy that you bring is all way more important? Absolutely. But does your physical appearance a lot of times get your foot in the door to even be able to showcase that? Unfortunately, yes. So take care of your physical health. And also, you feel good, you look good. That's a real thing, right? Like, if you're wearing clothes that you like I like this brown shirt, like, I like the necklaces that I'm wearing, I like the accessories that I'm wearing. I train regularly, I eat healthy. When I look at myself, I look good, and then I feel good, right? Like, I know that when I'm going up to meet someone that I have my best self on, right? And so it's so important to take care of your physical health, because it's a representation of you outwardly, get me this, outwardly about your respect to yourself, but also inwardly. Like, you taking care of yourself and going to the gym, you eating healthy, you taking care of your skin. My guys, taking care of your skin, taking care of your hair, taking care of your clothes. It subconsciously tells yourself that you matter. Like, oh, I'm actually important enough to spend time to invest my energy as well as my money to better those things because I matter. It's like this. It's like so many of our lives we spend just draining ourselves trying to help others. Like, just draining ourselves. And people will take and take and take and take and take. But you never spend that time and energy and money on yourself, right? Like go, like, and none of this stuff has to be super expensive, right? Like, go and buy yourself like a skincare routine set, right? Like, so here, let me break it down. For those that don't know anything about taking care of your skin, you need something to remove the dirt and the gross stuff off your face, and then you need healthy stuff to put onto your face so you nourish it, right? But to break it down, all you need is a face wash, you need a lotion, and sunscreen. Sunscreen because, if I hear anybody say like, oh, I don't burn easily, I don't need. Yes, you do. You do, because when you get acne, because we all get acne, I get acne, it does something called hyperpigmentation, right? And that's when your face gets a little bit like those red spots on your face, and those things don't go away for a while. If you're in the sun, it makes those spots even darker. Wear sunscreen. So that's a simple skincare routine, right? Go buy yourself a good smelling cologne. Like, I think I wear something really simple. It's like Dolce & Gabbana, like, I forget what it's called, light blue for men, I don't know, something like that. It's like $30 on Amazon. It smells incredible and lasts me like 5 months. You're spending like $30 on like 2 Chipotle bowls. Okay, I'm a huge fan of Chipotle. All my good friends know this, but you're willing to spend $30 on your food in like a matter of 2 days. You're not willing to invest in smelling good for like an entire 6 months off a 30 bottle of cologne? Or like a $5 deodorant stick? Come on, right? Like, invest in yourself, because You are outwardly telling people that you care about yourself, that you respect yourself, but more importantly, inwardly, that's a great source of your confidence when you're subconsciously telling yourself, I'm willing to invest in me because I am important and deserving of that investment. Control what you can control. Stop worrying about everything else in this world. And it's funny because naturally I think we're inclined to worry about everything that we can't control. And that gives us a ton of anxiety, right? So another question that I get a lot is like, how do you decrease your anxiety? And there's actually a really cool video that I just saw about this. But it gets at the idea that I always talk to you guys about. And it is bring yourself back. Bring yourself back. Literally, bring yourself back. A lot of times when we are anxiety stricken, it's because we are so much in the future mentally while our physical bodies are still here in the present. Bring your mind that's so out there in the future with things that it can't control and bring it back with its physical body. Reunite those two, because in the moment, that's all that you can control. So control what you can control. And if you allocate the time necessary and the energy necessary to focus on yourself and to control the things that you can control, like for example, you can't control what Joe says about you. I don't know why I keep using Joe, but you can't control what Joe says about you. But you can control how you feel about yourself. Like, what is confidence? It's not about walking into a room and worrying, oh, does Joe and Sally care about me? Do they notice me? Do they think that I look good? No. Confidence is, I don't care what Joe and Sally has to say. I feel good. I know that I put in the time. I know that I put in the preparation necessary to look this good. I know that I brought in the preparation to be knowledgeable about this subject that we're going to be talking about. So that's all that matters. I feel good about me because I know what I can control. I can't control what they're going to think. I'm going to give school as an example because I know a lot of us are students, and I'm a student, right? Let me talk to you guys about something that was probably the most eye-opening thing ever. I remember when I was about 16 years old. I know this because I was part of my youth group and my pastor had said, hey, June, like, how are you doing so well in school? And do you mind teaching some of the younger kids coming up? And I told him that it's funny because I don't see school in the way that most people see school. Like, I don't see school as all about attaining grades. Now, this is coming from like an all honor student in high school, taking all those AP classes, and a BS MS biomedical engineering degree student currently in his fourth year on a dean's list, 3.75 GPA or whatever the case may be. Like, this is someone that succeeds really well, telling you that it's not all about the grades, right? But the grades become a byproduct of your perspective on it. So hear me out. So you might not necessarily be able to control getting good grades every single time because you can't control what's necessarily going to be on the exam. And if your teacher just happens to make it really difficult one day, you can't control that. And that's okay. It's not about getting good grades all the time. But what do I do when I get a good grade or a bad grade? If I get a good grade, I'll do this. Oh, okay. So my studying habits that led up to that work. I'm going to continue building on it. If I study for X amount of time for this one class and it was sufficient for me to have a good grade, maybe I'm like, okay, maybe I can decrease the time a little bit there. Like, I don't want to decrease it too much because I know that it's working, but maybe because I'm doing good in that class, I can decrease the time spent on it a little bit. And so I can allocate it to another class that might have a little bit more difficulty in. Okay. I know that taking notes this way was successful because I got a good grade. I'm going to continue to take notes that way. But on the flip side, if you get a bad grade, it's not the end of the world. It's not. You're going to graduate. This is what you do. You look at it and you say, okay, well, that kind of sucks, but that's all right. Because I'm going to look at it and say, hey, maybe I got to spend a little bit more time on this subject. Or maybe I'm just not efficiently using my time, so maybe I should study better. But how do I study better? How many office hours did I go to for my professor? How many times did I email my teacher? Oh, only like twice this week. Maybe I should bump that up to 4. Or I didn't go to any office hours. Maybe I should go to 1. Or how many of my friends did I reach out to for help about this stuff? 0? Maybe I should reach out to 1 or 2. How much did I raise my hand in class? Just like 4 times this week. I should bump that up to 6. Like, there are things that you can control. And I guarantee the good grades will follow. It's like People will tell you, oh, this is the best study tip and study habits that you need to have, right? But if you just think that those are going to be like lifesavers for you, you're in for a rough ride, because those things might not necessarily work for you, right? But what does work for you is looking at the things that you've done prior and building on the good things and fixing the bad things. That's all. Naturally, you take a step back a few months after doing that, you're like, whoa, that's cool. My grades like rose. And maybe it wasn't linear. Maybe you had some good grades, you had a bad one, and then it went up, and then it went up, and then it went down again, and then it went up. But at that end point versus your first point, I guarantee there's a difference. And that range, that's all a product of the work that you put in terms of what you can control. And that should wrap up part 1 of how to gain confidence. As many of you guys know, this is my very first video on YouTube. I've been doing TikTok and Instagram for the last 2.5, 3 years or so, and been able to grow those accounts pretty substantially. But I think I'm going to enjoy this a lot. I really do feel that there's nothing more fulfilling than trying to help you guys in this self-discovery and self-healing journey that we're all on. And I just hope that I can show how much potential that all of you have. You know, I think a lot of times our greatest fears are not that we are inadequate or incapable of achieving something. It's that we are capable, that we may be powerful beyond measure, and it's that small voice in us that are calling us to be doctors or lawyers or biomedical engineers or musicians, that are actually our callings, and that we would be really good at it. Like, that's our fear, but never taking the chance on it. So I'm gonna teach you guys as much as I possibly can on this journey, and I couldn't be more excited. I love you all, and have a wonderful day.